Hi, I'm Dr. Lusheen. I'm putting together this short video just to give you some insights, some tips on what you could do to be more successful and possibly even better enjoy virtual classes. So, whether it's remote and synchronous or asynchronous and just pre recorded. Sorry. First, the issue with learning online is that it puts a lot of extra responsibility or accountability on the student, which is why it's so difficult. The luxury of being able to go into a classroom is that you can just kind of be there and you can pick things up. Of course, it's better if you sit towards the front of the room and you're taking notes and your attention is focused on what's being presented, and hopefully your instructor has activities to help you learn. But when it's online, you have many distractions. And so, what I want to do is just kind of go over some things that I think would help when you're attempting to learn online. First is go to the course website and make sure you understand where things are. Primarily, you should know where the due dates are. There should be due dates posted, or know where the syllabus is, and make sure that you know how to contact the instructor for any questions. Also, the general layout. An instructor should have a consistent layout of their course. We use Canvas. So that you know how to find things, and so you should be, familiar with what is going on, what is going to be due, what's going to be going on that week. I highly recommend that you start really thinking about developing a learning plan or a study plan. I like to use a calendar. I know a lot of my students like to use electronic ones. I'm old fashioned. I like to use the old planner, and I write down important dates, like any meetings that I have come up. If there's going to be something due, what do I need to prepare? In doing so, I'm sort of planning to succeed versus not planning and therefore not succeeding. I would block out lecture times, meeting times, things like that, so that if when someone asks, hey, can you meet on this day at this time, it's really easy just to look and see within your calendar whether you can meet or whether there's a conflict. I think you should try to identify study partners. I know through my undergrad, I wouldn't have gotten through if I didn't have study partners. People who I studied with, discussed topics with. Sometimes they motivated me to go to a library to get something done when I really didn't want to. Also, get to know your instructor. That's a big mistake a lot of college students make, is that, well, I just have to survive this class. I just have to try to get a good grade. This is an opportunity to enhance your ability to learn. How are you doing that? What's your method? How are you getting better? It's an opportunity to find resources that you're going to use in the future, to develop artifacts of what you can do for a future employer. But more importantly, you should be talking to your instructor. That is such an important thing, because many instructors are connected to people out in industry. And so if you want to get a job, it's good to get to know your instructor. A very important element that cannot be underscored, underemphasized, that's the better word, is be present during lectures and meetings. That is very difficult when it's online, and I know I'm guilty of it too. If I have to attend a meeting or a seminar online and maybe my interest level isn't real high, I will listen to it and maybe have it up on one screen, but I'll have a separate screen. I'll be checking email or working on something else and sort of passively participating. Passive learning isn't really learning. It's just, it's so sporadic. It's not organized. All you're really doing is hearing what's going on. That's all it is. And not to say that it's actually going to be heard properly. Be present. Be active. Be taking notes. When you're doing those things, when your attention is focused on what's going on, you can also then relate it, compare and contrast to previous experiences you've had or other lessons that you've learned. To really understand what's going on. Because the better you can connect to the material that's being presented, the easier it'll be to recall later on, which is really what this whole back and forth is all about. I also recommend that you ask to attend office hours, whether it's just to kind of review some of the main topics from the previous week, ask questions beyond the course, get to know your instructor. It's so important that you do that. Ask questions. Too often, and I always start out my classes by recommending that students reach out to me. students talk to each other and they're sharing the wrong information. So I'll have multiple students making the same issue because nobody stepped up and asked me a question. So please ask questions of your instructor. I mean, really get into a normal dialogue. As an instructor, I really like it when students do that. I get to know them better. I feel better about recommending them for positions. Or when somebody asks for a recommendation, got any students who are, high achievers? Yeah, I've got this one. They've been contacting me outside of class and we've been talking beyond the course topics. Ask questions. Really important. I also think you should be tracking your progress. Look ahead. What is due this week? What's due next week? What are the major projects that are due? Set time aside prior to the night before something's due. Learning is much more enjoyable. It's much easier if you do it in little pieces more frequently versus an intense cramming session before an exam, or try to crank out a paper the night before it's due. The quality isn't what doesn't reflect what you really know. Your grade will probably suffer. I know a lot of people need that last minute push, to get the energy to do it. Find a way to set time aside more frequently to work on something, to get something done. And also set a personal due date days before something is due so that you have a pretty decent draft of what you're going to be submitting. And then spend the next couple days editing it, reviewing it, have other people edit it and review it for you. All these things are going to make it so that you score better on these things. And then you're not so stressed out because you're setting time aside. Prepare for lectures. Look ahead. Really know what's going to be going on that week and what's expected. I think you should be looking 2 to 3 weeks out. When you receive a graded assignment, read what the professor or instructor gives for you for feedback so that you could take that information and improve for the next time. And I do recommend people to keep journals. Reflective journaling is a great self-improvement method. I use it. I think a lot of whenever you read what do highly effective people do, they tend to journal. What are you thinking about? What are you planning about? To-do lists. All these things are meant to make you better. And also you're planning ahead. In my classes, at least, the note-taking you do, the journaling you do, the planning you do, the assignments you create and get graded are all a reflection of what you could bring to a future employer. So I'm recommending you organize what you do in a class and bring that to an interview for an internship or a job. This is what I can do. Because, in many times you lack, years of experience in the field. What can you bring? Well, I am a independent, motivated self-learner. Let me show you what I can do for you. I think a lot of companies like that. And also look beyond the class and start networking. Yeah, you can talk to classmates. Yeah, you can meet your instructor. What about when there's a guest speaker? What about taking the leap into social mediums to start creating a brand for yourself? So I'm just going to close out by saying that you will enjoy a class more. You'll get more out of it, and it'll be a lot more easier if you become an active learner versus a passive learner. Engage yourself. Ask for more. Do a little more frequently than just sort of passively sitting around and then trying to figure it out at the last minute. That's stressful. It doesn't reflect usually well in scoring or in grades. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But this short video was just meant to give you tips on what you can do in this new online learning environment that we're all been thrust into. Good luck.